Hey guys, daskro here. Another episode of Tank School, episode 7, Advanced Perk Discussion. In this episode, I'll be talking about what process one should go through when choosing the appropriate perks for the given situation that they're in. There's no one great perk loadout. It's all situational. So I'll be talking about three topics. One, the opportunity costs of choosing certain perks over others. Talked about opportunity cost before, going to talk about it again. 2, talking out the perk choice, going through the logic process that we go through of why certain perks are better than others in certain circumstances. 3, assumptions change your choices. When an assumption changes, you need to evaluate why you chose the given perk loadout you did, and perhaps even change it up. So, going to the very first topic. Opportunity cost. Just to review, it's what you don't get when you choose something. So here are some examples. If you choose heavy machine gun, you will not get a canister shot. If you choose an IR smoke, it means you don't get the thermal image, the camera thing that allows you to see in night vision predator thing. You don't get that. And finally, when you choose autoloader, you don't get reactive armor. What advantages do I get out of autoloader that negate any or offset any advantage I get out of reactive armor? Those are kind of the questions we have to ask ourselves. So I'm going to talk about a few sort of hypothetical scenarios, but before I do, I want to talk it out and describe what I mean by talking it out. What I mean is, we have to think about, one, what does the perk actually do at its core? What does it so we have to understand what the perk does and what it doesn't do. We need to understand in what circumstances it actually is viable, when it has a purpose, and when it's useful to implement. We have to think about how often we're going to be in that set of circumstances where it's going to be viable. We have to think about, well, even if it helps me in a given circumstance, is that circumstance really even something that helps me PTFO, help me play the objective and win the game? And then finally, are there alternatives to this perk or combinations of alternatives to this perk that, in the end, if used in a certain way, create the same outcome or prevent the same kind of outcome that I'm trying to not happen? So let's talk about a real basic example. Thermal camo versus reactive armor. What's thermal camo? Thermal camo is a perk that you put in, when you put in, it buys you an additional 3 seconds of time before a guided munition, a guided shell, guided missile, javelin, locks onto your tank. It usually takes 3 seconds. It adds 3 seconds, doubles the amount of time to 6 seconds. That's all it does. What does reactive armor do? Reactive armor for main battle tank is a set of 3 different plates on the sides and the rear where it will stop any amount of damage in that one single volley creates against that tank. And so it can stop a tank shell. It can stop a guided missile. It can stop 10 C4s if they all go off at the same time. It stops all of that if it's one single amount of damage that hits it all at once. But beyond that, it doesn't do anything. Once the panels are gone, that's the end of it. You got to repair them to get them back up. But if they're gone, it doesn't do anything. It's just like the tank being naked. So those are 2 things that take place. So let's think about a hypothetical scenario that sort of describes why I would want to choose one versus the other. Let's say, for instance, I'm playing Caspian Border, and I know that I am in the tank, and I'm alone, and I know that I may go against really, really good attack helicopters and jets. And they're going to engage me with guided missiles and other air-to-ground missiles and things like that. My biggest concern is being locked on. So my choices: thermal camo, reactive armor. What does thermal camo do? It adds 3 seconds to when they lock onto me, which means that it buys me an additional 3 seconds to maneuver out of there. To maneuver to a position where they can no longer lock onto me, or alternatively to get into a place where the missile goes after me. It'll hit something, a tree or an overpass, whatever it may be. It buys me 3 seconds of time. Now if I don't get into a position where I can be safe, if I don't maneuver my way out of there, I'm going to take that full damage, whatever it may be. regardless of if I'm laser locked or not. What does reactive do? Well, reactive, if I take a hit from the sides or the rear, it'll negate all that damage. And so even though that it takes 3 seconds to lock on, it's going to fire, let's say, give it a second or two to go in flight to hit me. I take the hit, but the reactive armor takes all the damage, still at 100% health. It takes them, what, 8 to 10 seconds to reload that guided shell. They reload it, they fire again, and let's say it does full damage to me. How many seconds have transpired since when they first saw me, when I can actually react to it? Well, you're looking at 3 plus 1, so that's 4, plus another 8 seconds, it's 12 seconds. It's 12 seconds from when they see me to when I take some damage. Versus, what? The thermal camo bought me, what, 6 seconds? Maybe 7 seconds? And so there's quite a differential there. There's a differential there because reactive armor basically buys me another 6 seconds. Now, how is that? Clearly, in that scenario, reactive armor is a better choice. But let's add on another component to this. Let's say, for instance, that there is some enemy infantry or an enemy tank who's going to shoot me as well.
He's down. Tank down.
And if I am going to be in that scenario, thermal camo isn't going to help me. Thermal camo has nothing to do with stopping enemy tank shells or enemy RPGs. It doesn't help. And so when I'm running thermal camo, I'm going to take that full damage. But when I'm running reactive, I at least have a chance of stopping some of that damage. And again, how long does it take for an RPG air to fire? He fires it, it travels for a second or two, he reloads it, it's what, a 2 or 3 second reload, maybe more? And then I'm going to guess it's actually probably, 2 or 3 seconds is actually wrong, it's probably closer to 4 or 5 seconds. And then he fires it again. And so there's a 6 to 7 second delta between when the first shot lands and when the second shot lands. Well, if my rate of armor stops that first shot, I'm buying myself 7 seconds to maneuver out of there, or to kill the guy alternatively, so that I don't take any more damage. Whereas in the thermal camo, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't help me at all in that situation. Now, clearly, that's an example where reactive armor is a better choice. But let's change this up a bit. What if, for instance, that you're running reactive armor, but your buddy's with you, and your buddy is running thermal camo. Thermal camo is one of those attributes that if you are on the secondary position of the tank, be it a gun or CITV, it applies, regardless what position you're in. So now I now have reactive armor, which buys me time when I get hit, and that time is determined by the reload rate of that given person engaging me, or alternatively, it buys me enough time between the first amount of the first hit taken versus the whatever second or third guy is available, enemy that's available, it's going to be shooting you as well. So the delta becomes much smaller when you actually have more enemies that you're engaging. But the thermal camo also buys some additional time as well. But okay, that makes sense. We have an extra guy there. He's running thermal camo. But what's the opportunity cost of him running thermal camo? Well, clearly, he's not running proximity. And so if you're in an engagement where there's a lot more infantry, you're not going to be able to see those enemy infantry as well because he's not running proximity. Let's talk about the thermal camo versus an attribute, or a perk that's not in the same class. How about IR smoke? What does IR smoke do? IR smoke, when it's popped, stops any incoming guided missile or laser lock, and it prevents you from being hit. It buys you, in effect, the same kind of time differential that the reactive armor does, because the reactive armor is stopping that damage, and then it's then defined by however fast your enemies can fire subsequent shots. In effect, it's doing the same thing. And what's the objective here? Well, the enemy's objective will likely be to kill you. And what are you trying to do? Not get killed. And so, clearly, maybe reactive armor and IR smoke is a better option if you're trying to delay the amount of time that it takes for them to do damage to you so you can maneuver out there accordingly. But what if their objective isn't to kill you? What else could they be doing? Well, they could be trying to delay you. What if you're playing a rush map? And in the rush map, you're a defender on the tank, and you're trying to get there because the MCOM has been planted, and you want to support your teammates so that you can clear out the place and then get the defuse. And that helicopter is just trying to delay you. He's not trying to kill you. He's just trying to delay you because there's a limited amount of time that that bomb has until it goes off. And if he can delay you from getting there just by being annoying or by stalling you, he's completing his objective because he doesn't care if you die or not. He just cares that the MCOM goes off. These are some of the strategies and tactics we have to think about when we play the objective and what perk loadouts work better than others. Maybe smoke is a great way to obfuscate yourself from the enemy helicopter as you're trying to rush into the defender spot so you can get there as fast as you can without him doing a lot of damage to you or trying to laser lock onto you. Let's talk about a weapons perk situation. Let's say we are going into a fight where we're fighting against enemy AT infantry. And before I go on, let's talk about why these assumptions matter so much. Because we have to remember, how competent is our squad mates, or are our squad mates with us? How competent is our team with us? How many teammates do we have? Do we have a squad mate? Hopefully we do. Is the perk we're using maintain viability given the objectives we're trying to accomplish and the circumstances we're trying to mitigate? And then, are we being effective at accomplishing our objectives? And then finally, should I change up the playstyle I'm doing because it's not being successful? And if I change up my playstyle, do I need to change up my perks as well? So going back to this infantry example, in this infantry example, let's pretend for a second that we have a gunner with us, and we have to make a choice. Do we run canister shot, HMG, or main gun? Or guided shell, and then our main gun? Well, we know that guided shell and canister shot now are tied to the reload rate of the main battle tank's barrel, the bore, the bore of the gun. So when you fire a main gun round, you cannot automatically switch to canister and then fire a subsequent shot. There's a reload time because they're using the same barrel. Same is true with guided shell. You fire that main gun, and then you want to switch to guided shell to get a guided shell off. Even with a lock on, it's going to take a second for it to load in and fire. So you're basically limited, not to necessarily the choice of one versus the other, but instead you're limited by time. Every 4 seconds, you can fire something. You can fire a canister, or you can fire your main gun. You can't fire both. So you're limited in terms of the amount of damage that you can output, or at least the volume of damage, the volume of volleys, the amount of volleys that you can output per minute. Whereas HMG is completely, and LMG are completely dependent from this bore. They fire independent of your main gun firing, and so you can actually do more damage over against infantry, at least over a period of time, because you are using the main gun and the HMG. But let's think about this for a minute, though. I never said how many infantry you're going to be fighting against. You may say, oh, well, I'm assuming that I'm playing 32 versus 32, and there's going to be 12 enemy infantry there. Well, then, yes, HMG would probably be a good idea, and your main gun, and your gunner running his gunner position. But what if, for instance, that it's only 16 people playing total? It's 8 on 8. There may only be 2 or 3 engineers. Remember, the engineers are the threat, not the assault guys. 2 or 3 engineers on a given point at any given time. So, what does that mean? It means that if I feel like that I'm pretty accurate with my main gun and/or canister, I just need to kill them within a very short amount of time in order to complete the objective. I get on the point. I see one. He fires an RPG at me. I shoot him and I kill him. Hooray! But I take a hit. Reactive takes 1. My side's off. There's 2 more. They're also engaging me, and they also get subsequent hits on me. Now, I feel pretty good about the canister shot, so I change the canister shot. It reloads. I fire, but I miss that next guy. So he fired. So the enemy is now reloading his RPG. So we have now 2 RPGs, doing 20-30 damage per hit. 2 volleys coming every 7-8 seconds, perhaps. And I then I reload my canister shot, which takes about 4 seconds. I get the next kill, But wait a minute. How much time has transpired between the first guy I killed versus the second guy that I killed? Let's count it out. I hit my first shot, I missed my second shot, and I hit my third shot. Which means that from the moment in time that I killed the first guy to the moment in time I killed the second guy has been, what, 12 seconds? What does that mean? Well, it means that I've given that first guy who died enough time to respawn back in. He can respawn back in on the point that I'm trying to capture, or depending on the server configuration, he can respawn his own teammates. And so I've actually not done anything to help my situation. I've actually worsened it because I have less reactive armor, I'm taking more damage, and they're all still up. Maybe it's more conducive for my gunner to simply get out and try to engage them, you know, one-on-one. Because at least then we can try to kill all of them within a 10-second time window, so they can't respawn in, and then we can get the cap point and we can, you know, prevent them from spawning in. This, of course, changes if our assumptions change on how the game mechanics are operating. What if we're playing in a hardcore server where it's spawn on squad leader only, and we kill the squad leader, and there's a little star next to him? Then I know that those guys are not going to be able to spawn in on their squad leader once they die, but that squad leader can spawn on anyone else. And so I had the concept of the fact that that squad leader is going to spawn on one of those two guys, and hopefully I can kill one of them or get some subsequent shots or get my gunner to get in there and fight it out, because it's going to be limited on who's alive. Our assumptions of on how we are choosing the perks that we want to go for is highly determined by the assumptions we build out. How many engineers are actually going to be on that point or on that MCOM, whatever it may be? What's the game format? Are we playing on hardcore where I can easily kill them because of the amount of splash damage the main gun shell does, or the canister shot does, or the HMG does? Are they going to... They have a medic with them. Are they going to get revived a lot? Are they going to be able to spawn on squad leader only? Are they going to be able to squad hop? Those kind of questions have a big impact on what perks we choose. If I know there's only going to be 2 or 3 engineers there, canister probably is just as good an option as HMG, because I feel confident that I can hit them. But then again, there's a counter argument to that, which says, well, daskro, if you are that good with canister shot, why go canister shot in the first place? If you can one-shot people with a canister shot, you could probably one-shot people with your main gun anyway. Why change it up? Well, there are some differences between canister shot and main gun, for one, but that's a viable counter argument. Why even go canister shot in the first place if I feel like that I can basically do a one-shot kill with the main gun anyway, get a body shot on them? Those are sort of the questions that we have to kind of think about when we think about what perks we want to choose. Nevertheless, though, this is by no means advocating that there are some perk loads that you should always choose. I'm not advocating that you always go reactive armor, but it's pretty damn good. I'm not saying you always go HMG or guided, but they're both pretty damn good. I'm not saying you go IR smoke versus thermals, but again, it's going to depend on what situations you are going to be most likely to encounter. So in the end, you're trying to stay alive and stay viable and play that objective. And so that's it. That's all that being said for this episode. So episode 8 is actually going to be sort of a case study. I'm going to actually show some real-world examples, and we're going to talk about what is actually going on with these given scenarios. This is going to be gameplay of yours truly playing and analyzing why I chose certain perk loadouts, why I chose certain tactics or strategies based on what I knew in that given situation and how I adapted accordingly. So that's it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys later.